Alright, welcome to another gameplay here at Lorcana University. Today we're going to have Emerald Steel Discard versus Sapphire Steel Item Combo. On the right I'll be playing An-Noi-ing Items is what I call it, or An-Noi-ing Items. And this is a deck that I've covered via Deck Tech, and also have another gameplay video out if you want to check that out as well. On the left, Jimmy's going to be playing the discard deck. It's based off of the Emerald Steel discard deck, but it has a lot of edits that I think are pretty good. And I'll point them out when I start to see them as they pop up. On turn 1, he won the die roll, so he's going to ink a Tinkerbell, and I'm going to develop a brain. I'm going to ink a develop a brain so I can play a develop a brain. So in this matchup, and traditionally against discard, you kind of don't want to play some of your early game stuff. Keep that as discard fodder, and you're focusing on the mid game. Characters that in the 4 to 5 ink range that are pretty valuable, because anything above that's probably going to get discarded, and anything before that you can save to discard. Mainly because the Emerald Steel deck doesn't really focus on generating lore until very, very, very late in the game after you've discarded your entire hand. So you don't have to worry about racing in the early game. But I am going to play An-Noi, which I think is going to be really good in this matchup, because one of the weaknesses of Emerald Steel is they have no real way to challenge your characters for the first couple of turns. So if you put out something aggressive like a Noi who quests for 2 but has resist 1 while an item's in play, they don't really have anything to do to that. So you can probably just quest with that one, get 6 to 10 lore out of that per game. I'm going to play on turn 3, I'm going to play a Cinderella Knight in Training, which is going to be a bit of a mistake in just a second. So I'm going to go and discard a Smash here and trigger his Prince John to draw him a card. Prince John says, whenever I discard a card, he draws a card. And that is a mistake on my part, and I probably won't make that again in this match. He's going to ink a Simba Future King on his turn 4. So he's got that Bucky and John out, kind of the traditional turn 2, turn 3 for Emerald discard. He's going to play a Sudden Chill here to make me discard a card and draw off of his John. And now he's going to play a Hercules Hero in Training. I don't think you see these in a lot of lists, but I do like this because that allows him to shift into Giant Hercules, which is a good way to close out the game. Also triggers his Bucky. I'm going to play a Prince Never Gives Up, and that's going to give my Noi a little extra protection in case he does shift. He has to get through my Challenger first before he can get to my juicy Noi, who's quested for 4 so far, going on 6 next turn. I'm okay jamming a bunch of popsicles out here, because at least at the very end of the day, they're cantrips and they're drawing me cards, so I'm not losing cards out of hand to put them out onto the field. And that means I'm going to be okay against discard, a little bit better off. He is going to shift into the Divine Hero Hercules, and that's going to trigger his Bucky to make me discard, and then he's going to challenge my Bodyguard. Pretty much expected that coming. So I am, prepared for it a little bit to the best I can, but it's gonna be tough to get around that big dumb Hercules. But I do find a last cannon, and I put a Challenger +3 under my Cinderella so that she can challenge and defeat that Hercules. I'm gonna play another popsicle and quest with my Noi. Feeling okay. I mean, I'm running low on cards in hand, but those popsicles have been keeping me in the match. I just need to find a Hiram, and I'll be great. But here comes Lucifer Cunning Cat, making me discard my entire hand. I have no cards left in hand, so I'm at the mercy of my top deck, which is a tough spot to be. But he doesn't look like he's going to win the game anytime soon. He's going to put himself on the scoreboard here by questing for 2, and he has a total quest power of 5 versus my 2, but I have a little bit of a head start. So really I just got to draw a Hiram, and I think I can really come back into this match. He inks a Sudden Chill because he knows I'm not going to have any cards left in hand. And I do draw into a Hercules True Hero, the most schmedium Hercules. I'm going to put that out to guard my Noi. She didn't really need it, but, putting him out there gives me the option to threaten maybe his Prince John if he tries to quest and race me. He's going to sing with his Prince John a Strength of the Raging Fire, doing 3 damage to my Hercules. That stinks, but it's okay. Once again, I'm not feeling super threatened because my Noi is a 1/2 but has resist +1. He's gonna play a Donald Duck Perfect Gentleman. That allows us to draw an extra card on his turn. I can draw a card during his turn, as can he. And some of these decks do like to run that as a means to put extra cards in my hand to then make me discard them, so things like Prince John can trigger again. So we'll have to consider whether or not we want to optionally take that draw. He did challenge my Noi to put some damage on it, but I drew an Aerial Who's It Collector and put that down there. I'm going to continue to quest with Noi unfazed by that strange half challenge, and I'm going to remove that damage with a Popsicle. I'm trying to think of why he would have challenged my Noi with not enough to defeat it. I mean, it had resist, so he couldn't have defeated it. But to waste that turn doing damage to it indicates to me that he might have things like ring the bell, or he's just trying to make me burn my popsicles is also an option. We'll see in a second here. He plays a Benja guarding the Dragon Gem, which blows up one of my popsicles. And then he's going to play a Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo, which allows him to pick up his Benja and then play another character that costs 3. And that can also be that Benja. So he picks up that Benja and immediately replays it, which blows up my other popsicle, which is a pretty cool trick. He then is able to challenge it with his Lucifer, or was it Donald Duck, to defeat my Noi. So Noi finally went down on turn, 6, having generated 10 lore, which is pretty good. We're going to have to get aggressive because he's really greatly outquests us at this point. So we're going to challenge with our Ariel and then play a popsicle to ready her. So we defeated one Prince John. We drew into, off a popsicle, a smash, which we're going to throw at Benja to knock him out of the match. And now we have an Ariel with 1 damage stacked on her. And we're debating. Should we keep her back to try and win the game? No, we can't race at this point. He has too much lore, so we're going to send him in to take out Lucifer as well, after removing the damage from her with Popsicle. So we're leaving her with 2 damage. He's at the mercy of Jimmy. Probably going to get banished here, but we took out 3 characters that quest for 2 that turn. He's going to play a Cinderella Stout-Hearted, making me discard the card that I drew off of his Perfect Gentleman. That was expected, but long as his Prince John is gone, I'm always going to take the extra card. When Prince John is in play, I'm less likely to, because Prince John will, when he makes me inevitably discard the card that he gave me, Prince John will allow him to draw another card, which I don't want to happen. But now that Prince John is down, I'll take it. Here we go again. I'll draw off of his Donald Duck. He draws 2. I draw 1. He draws 1 for turn, and then 1 from Donald. And then but he plays another Floodborn, triggering his Bucky again, making me discard. It's okay, you know. It's not costing me any resources as of right now, and not getting him any extra advantage. So I'm finally happy to grab a Hiram here and pop my Eye of Fates, not realizing that he's at 14 lore with 7 on board, meaning it's lethal. So I pass to him, and he says, okay, well, I'm going to win the game. Well done. Well played. So that's game 1, but let's go into game number 2. So you can see some changes to this list. I know some of the Emerald Steel lists run the Flynn as a way to close out the game, but I much like this version more. Using things like the large Hercules and the Stout-Hearted Cinderella as ways to close out the game, because those I think are much better finishers, and they also continue to trigger Bucky, which is pretty nice as well. All right, game 2. I lost, so I'm on the play. I'm going to start by inking a Prince and then playing a Simba. Want to get use out of that before he gets his Prince John out, making those cards effectively worthless. He's going to ink a Ring the Bell and pass back to me. No turn 1 play sounds good to me. I don't think there's any turn 1 plays in that list, to be honest. I'm going to ink a Hercules True Hero and play a Popsicle. So kind of in a weird flow right now where I'm playing cards offbeat, but that's okay. I'm willing to play a little bit slower in this game, not trying to hit a perfect curve, but rather be careful with my resource usage. He's playing a Bucky Squirrel Squeak Tutor on turn 2. So setting up that classic turn 2 into Prince John turn 3. I'm going to do a The Prince Never Gives Up on turn 3, protecting my measly 1-2 Simba, because I'm going to try and ride as much lore out of that character as I can. I don't want to have to play any more characters. Like, just keep as many cards in my hand as possible. So if I can get a lot of juice out of these 2, I'm going to take it. We're going to quest up to 4 with those 2 characters. And then we're going to ink a Judy Hopps going to 4. So we can slam a Hiram Flaversham, the best draw engine probably in the game right now. So that is going to keep me in a very good position against discard. It's going to be very difficult for him to get rid of my hand as long as Hiram lives. He's going to play a Tinkerbell Tiny Tactician, so we're on Giant Tinkerbell alert. So we have to be careful that he's going to play a Giant Tinkerbell next turn. So if we're going to continue to quest out and do all of our stuff, we're going to want the Prince to stand up to a Giant Tinkerbell. We're going to play a Scepter of Arendelle. Really shouldn't be playing this, but honestly, it's just to feed Hiram. We're turning 1 card into 2 cards with Hiram. That's all we're going to keep trying to do as long as we can to stand a chance against discard. So we're considering what we're going to do here. We find a Mouse Armor, which would be really good, so we can quest with our Prince and let him bring the Giant Tink. And we'll even throw in the little baby Simba in the back. We're going to put armor on the knight who already has Alma. So he has to resist 2 at this point. So he's effectively like a 1/5, which means he can stand a hit from the giant Tinkerbell. And giant Tinkerbell's 1 damage effect won't even hurt him at all. So right now he's well suited to protect me against this giant Tink. He's going to ink this Donald Duck Perfect Gentleman, and he's going to pay 4. So, yep, here it comes. Here's Tinkerbell Giant Fairy. Does 1 damage to everyone, but of course, with resist 2, the knight takes no damage. But it'll do a little bit of damage in the back end, and it'll make me discard because it was a Floodborn, and Bucky loves it. Bucky's such a good card. I love the whole cycle of cards that triggered on Floodborns. And then he plays this Jank Improvise. I don't know why this is in this deck, maybe for this exact scenario. So he pumps this 4/5 into a 5/5, allowing him to defeat my Prince. And then with the Banish bonus 2 damage, shoots my baby Simba. Did not see that coming, honestly. And is it a blowout? A little bit. But they had kind of run their course at this point. Now we're all in the Hiram game. We've pivoted. He does use a sudden chill to make me discard, and then a bippity boppity boo, which bounces both Tinkerbells, the shifted onto and the shifted into his hand, and allows him to play something that costs 6 or less. And he's going to play a Lucifer to make me discard the remainder of my hand, which feels bad, but as long as Hiram is alive, I'm still in this fight. So it's our turn. He looks like he can quest for 5. And he's got a couple of cards in his hand, but we're going to draw into some gas here with this Hiram. We need to find that Ariel to start a flopping. We're going to develop our brain here. We drew one of those, and we see that there is, in fact, an Ariel. So something weird happens here, which I got to note, which is pretty big and important. I think he's talking to me about there being whether or not I drew an Ariel, so I showed him that I had an Ariel by throwing it out. But I never exerted the ink. So I then proceed to do the rest of my turn, not picking the Ariel up off the ground, as if I played it, and I play a Eye of Fates. This is like an unintentional cheat. I had no intention of trying to cheat him here. I wouldn't have showed this video if I was like, oh, let me try and sneak this cheat by, or I wouldn't even called it out. But neither of us realized that I only paid for one of those 2 things, which is going to change the outcome of this match. I wouldn't say significantly, but I'll talk about it as we continue through. On his turn, he's going to Hypnotize to cause me to discard to draw a card. And then he is going to ink a Hercules Hero in Training. And then he's going to, for 3, play a Tinkerbell Tiny Tactician, getting ready to shift again next turn. He likes to shift onto and then attack. He's going to send a whole squad after Hiram, but not enough to bring him down. Hiram's so chonky at 1/6 that he takes on both of those characters, taking 4 damage, 2 health left, 2 willpower remaining to be challenged. We're going to ready up. So this turn is going to play out a different way than it should because of the fact that Eye of Fates is already in play. I should be playing it as the first item per turn, but because of that weird last turn, it is already in play. And that's going to cause the amount of lore I produce this turn to be off by 1. Generally speaking, when you quest with Ariel for 1, then you play Eye of Fates to ready her. Then you put Eye of Fates on her, and then she can quest for 2. But now that it's already in play, I can start by questing for 2. So the net change will be an additional lore than I should have had, considering the accidental cheat last turn. All right, so stacking up our items, getting ready, taking it all in, just taking a deep breath. Get ready for the flopping. The floppening. Here comes Ariel for 2. We're going to start off with this weird Cinderella, Knight in Training, which we're going to draw and we're going to discard. We're going to allow him to draw for that too, because we're really just trying to gas our hand as much as we can to flop. So here comes flop number 1. It should be for 1, but because we cheated Eye of Fates in last turn, it's going to be for 2 on this video. Then we're going to play a last cannon to ready her and flop for 2. Ready, flip, and then flop for another 2. Right now, she's generated 6 according to the match score, but in reality, it should be 5 because of the cheat. So somewhere between 5 and 6 this turn. Then we're going to suit up our armor on Hiram. So we feeling like the 5 to 6 out of Ariel that turn is significant enough that I'm willing to say I'm going to pivot away from her. And if Jimmy wants to expend resources on defeating the Ariel, that's fine. Because I think we are in a good enough spot that we're going to win without Ariel at this point. She did enough. So here comes that shifted Tinkerbell, and I expected the challenge to go towards Ariel, but He has some other things in mind. He's going to send a Lucifer at Ariel to trade. So sending Ariel to the discard. And then he's going to send his Giant Tink at my Hiram. Hiram still has resist from that armor. So not only did he resist the 1 damage from Tinkerbell, but he also resists 1 of the challenge damage from Tinkerbell. So he took a total of 3 from there. Now he's going to play a Bippity Boppity Boo to bounce that Tinkerbell to hand, including the underneath Tiny Tactician. He replays the Tinkerbell to do 1 damage to my board again, and then he inks that Tinkerbell. So it was kind of a good usage of Bippity Boppity Boo. I do like that card a lot. And here he's going to run some Simba Future Kings back to back to try and dig for some more gas. So we're left here at 16 lore to his 0, or 15 if you want to talk about not cheating. We're going to add Eye of Fates to this Hiram so that he can quest for 2, and then he can chew on this last cannon to draw us some more cards. So really at this point with Eye of Fates, this end game state that we get in, we're just trying to stick some characters. It doesn't really matter what the character is, as long as it can quest for 1, the Eye of Fates makes that 2. That's game. So we're just got to get some characters into play here. So we're going to play a Hiram, a second Hiram, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to hold priority and give armor to Hiram. That is not how Lorcana works, but it doesn't really matter here. So we're going to eat that armor and draw 2. And we are going to play a Cinderella and we're going to opt to not. You may draw and discard a card. I'm going to choose not to because I don't want to trigger his John any farther. Not really thinking about how that would play out very well. He's going to use his Giant Tink to banish my wounded, demoralized Hiram, and then use the extra bonus 2 damage to shoot Cinderella. He also plays the Benja, which blows up my Eye of Fates. So this is when it kind of gets into a gray area where, depending on me, if I was at 17 instead of 18, the outcome could have changed. He's going to play a Jafar Dreadnought to make me discard as well. The last card in hand was a Develop My Brain, which would have been really good here for finding another character, or an Eye of Fates to close this game out entirely. He's going to finally say, okay, well, I'm basically trying to keep Shannon from drawing another character and winning the game. I have to race him at this point. So he puts 5 on the board, which is pretty good. He has, I think, the ability to put 9 more next turn. If he was to full quest out, he'd go to, I think, 14. And that does kind of make this ending of the match, due to that unintentional cheat, a little bit weird. So we're going to play another Cinderella, but this time we're going to follow it up with a Frying Pan, and we're going to clang his Giant Tinkerbell. That way his Giant Tinkerbell cannot challenge, cannot defeat Hiram, cannot shoot my Cinderella for 2 damage and defeat her. So she's got the game on lock, according to cheat math. If we're talking about fair math, I should be at 18, which may change how Jimmy deals with his board state differently, but let's talk about that a little bit. First and foremost, he has to defeat my Hiram or else I win the game, whether or not I was at 18 or 19. So he's going to do that now. He's going to send a couple of people at Hiram, and he's going to do it so that the Dreadnought, Jafar Dreadnought, is the last to hit him. He gets that last hit. That allows him to draw a card because the Dreadnought is the one that banished my Hiram. And really what he's trying to do is he's trying to figure out a way to shoot Tinkerbell so that she cannot quest for what he perceived to be game because of our snafu. He's going to actually play a Hypnotize on me to draw a card. I don't have any cards in my hand, but he still gets to draw a card. And he comes up short. He can't find any other way to deal with that Cinderella. He concedes the match, which is super unfortunate because, like I said, I should actually be at 18 and not 19. And I'm sitting there saying, hey, Frying Pan, who knew? But as of up to the point where he played Hypnotize, that would have been the exact same path he would have taken whether or not I was at 18 or 19. He would have used Jafar to defeat my Hiram to draw a card, and then he could have quested with the rest of his team to put himself on the edge of winning the game, but then he would have to pass the turn to me. And it would have been on whether or not I could have drawn like an Eye of Fates or something along the lines to challenge one of his characters to prevent him from winning. So it's kind of an unfortunate asterisk. I don't even know if I can call it a win, actually. We'll just call it a draw. So we're going on to game 3. We'll call this one the real deal. So I get to, he gets to play first. He didn't do anything on turn 1, and I popsicled. So that on my turn 2, I can hopefully ink a last cannon to play a Noi. There we go. That's how I want to curve out. He, on his turn 2, had played a Hercules, the hero in training, which kind of indicates to me that he's going to want to try and do an early big Hercules, divine hero. He's going to play Prince John, greediest of all, which means no more looting for me. Sure enough, I'm going to ink that Cinderella now because I'm not going to give him an extra card here. I'm going to go ahead and quest for 2 with Noi and then play a bodyguard out. So this is my pretty normal kind of curve with this deck is Noi on turn 2, and if it looks like there's a chance to challenge her, I'm going to do a bodyguard on turn 3. He's going to play a Bucky on turn 4 and then play a sudden chill to follow that up. So I discard and his Prince John draws him 1. I discarded an Ariel, probably means I have another Ariel in my hand. It's always a good opportunity to discard a second Ariel because they're uninkable. So we're going to play that Ariel who's a collector, and this is a really good curve out for me. So we're going to go ahead and quest. We know that there is probably a giant Hercules coming out, but as long as we have a bodyguard to protect our Noi, I'm okay with the first turn that giant exists being wasted against a bodyguard. Here it comes. Hercules Divine Hero. Giant Hercules is going to come in and challenge Medium Hercules. But first I have to discard a card because he just played a Floodborn and Bucky says so. And I'm going to lose Medium Hercules to Giant Hercules. And now it's kind of a race. It's like, okay, well, he has this giant 6/3 with resist 2. But we can play around that. This deck does excel at doing that. We're going to ink a Judy Hopps. We're going to quest with both Noi and Ariel. Once Ariel's in play, usually I pivot away from doing any kind of Noi stuff. Noi is now just bait. If she can generate any more lore, I'm pretty happy with it. But now I'm all on Ariel. So I played Eye of Fates after questing with Ariel. Then I readied her. Then I put Eye of Fates on her, so she quests for 2. Then I quested with her and played a Popsicle to ready her. Then there's an option for me to quest one more time here, but of course that exposed her to getting clobbered by the Giant Hercules, so we're not going to do that. He's going to play a Benja to blow up my Eye of Fates. Very unfortunate. And then he's going to challenge my Noi. So Noi did pretty good there. She got, 6 lore that game. No, more than that, 8. Whereas Ariel has 3. But I'm pivoting towards Ariel to finish this game out. He's going to play a second Prince John. So now when I discard a card, he draws 2, which is pretty crazy. So no looting. Absolutely no looting whatsoever. All right. We drew into what looks to be a Hiram, which is always good. Always great. So we're going to chew on this Popsicle. We're going to pop a sickle and draw 2 cards. And then we're going to take a look here. We're going to ink a Judy Hopps and pass turn. What? So that's kind of not good that I was unable to do any flip-flopping with Ariel. And I think Jimmy he notices that. So he's like, well, I don't think Shannon's deck is working right now, so I'm going to quest for 9. And that is pretty scary. So he doesn't commit any more cards to the board, so he can't win the match. He's going to go to 18 next turn, but that's a lot. So I'm going to have to probably do something about that. If I can't draw a bunch of items and start flip-flopping, I'm going to have to get down and dirty. So I'm going to challenge one of the Prince Johns at first, and then I'm going to play a Mouse Armor to ready her. Then I'm going to use Mouse Armor to give her resist 1 and challenge another Prince John. So knocking out both of his Prince Johns is draw engines, which I'm pretty happy about. I'm going to pop this Sickle to draw 2, which is... I should have done that first. Usually you want to always use Hiram first, that way you can draw other options. I'm going to play a Popsicle to replace the one that just got eaten, and that obviously readies up Ariel. And what you know, it's a bunch of action. So we're going to go ahead and quest with Ariel. She's only questing for 1 here, but still this is how we're going to win the match. Play a Magic Golden Flower to ready her, and then quest with her again. And then play a Last Cannon to ready her. And then we can quest again. It'll put her at the mercy of Giant Hercules. So this is one of the things I like to do, is just to ready up Ariel and pass turn. She's done flip-flopping for the turn. We're at 14 to his 9. There's a good shot that we can win, but it'll be great if we can find an Eye of Fates. He's going to challenge that Hiram and knock him out with Giant Hercules. And then play a third Prince John. Jeez. And he's going to quest up to 12. So he has a 7 lore on board now. So he cannot win the match next turn. So that's okay. That means it gives me 2 turns to win the match. This turn, and then presumably the following one to finish this game off. So we're going to play a Hiram out of hand and chew on that Last Cannon to draw 2. And we're looking to flip-flop. This mermaid is looking to flip-flop. Here we go. Let's quest for 1 and play out an item or 2 or 3 or 20. It's a Last Cannon to ready her. She sits there flipped but ready to flop. But unfortunately, it looks like our hand didn't have very many items, so we're going to bring out An-Noi to help us close this game out. Quest for 2 has ward. Going to be tough for him to stop. We're going to put the armor on Ariel just in case he does some kind of Strength of the Raging Fire stuff. Strength would still do the trick at this point. But there's some other options, you know, protecting her from that we want to be safe about. I don't know if he actually runs Smash or Grab Your Sword. He's going to quest out with the team to 19 and play a Hercules Hero in Training. Basically saying I didn't have I didn't have anything else, so either win now or lose. And that's the mentality we're going to go into this last turn. We're going to play a Simba Future King, draw and discard. I know it triggers his Prince John, but like I said, this is the last turn. Either I win right now or I pass to him and lose. So it's no holds barred. He can draw all the cards he wants right now. It doesn't matter. It won't affect the outcome of this match. We're going to use Hiram to chew on that mouse armor to draw 2. We don't need, like I said, we don't need the armor anymore. We're going to try and win the game, and if we fail to do so, it's basically over. So we don't need armor. We're going to develop our brain as well. I see a Popsicle as well as a Let the Storm Rage on. So Popsicle is absolutely the card to take there. I don't even know why there was a debate. And I'm going to quest with Noi up to 18, then quest with Ariel to 19. And then for maximum rub-ins, I'm going to use Frying Pan again to win this match, going to 20. And then for even additional rub-ins, for bad mana rub-ins, I'm going to play a Popsicle to go to 21. And Jimmy shows that his hand, in fact, was a bunch of Ring the Bells. So he needed that Ariel to be damaged in order for him to knock it out, which was great that we kept readying it with items and leaving it readied, so there was no opportunity to do so. All right, well, that's been a great matchup, save for a bit of snafus in Game 2. Thanks for tuning in, and for more Lorcana content, like and follow Lorcana University.